Yeah, మీరు try.
ఓం సహనా భవతు సహనౌ భునక్తు సహ వీర్యం కరవావహై తేజస్వినావధీతమస్తు మా విద్విషావహై. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. ఓం బ్రహ్మ విదాప్నో.
After the Shanti part, Om also. Brahma Vidapnoti, you can.
బ్రహ్మ విదాప్నోతి పరం తదేషాభ్యుక్తా సత్యం జ్ఞానమనంతం బ్రహ్మ యో వేద నిహితం గుహాయాం పరమే వ్యోమన్ సోష్ణుతే సర్వాన్ కామాన్ సహ బ్రహ్మణా విపశ్చితేతి తస్మాద్వా
ఏతస్మాదాత్మన తస్మాద్వా ఏతస్మాదాత్మన
తస్మాద్వా ఏతస్మాదాత్మన ఆకాశః సంభూతః. తస్మాద్వా ఏతస్మాదాత్మన ఆకాశః సంభూతః. ఆకాశాద్వాయుః వాయోరగ్నిః అగ్నిరాపః అద్భ్యః పృథివ్యా ఓషధయః ఓషధీభ్యోన్నం అన్నాత్ పురుషः సవా ఏష పురుషోన్నర సమయః.
Again.
సవా ఏష పురుషోన్నర సమయః. సవా ఏష పురుషోన్నర సమయః. తస్యేదమేవ శిరః అయం దక్షిణః పక్షః అయముత్తరః పక్షః అయమాత్మా ఇదం పుచ్చం ప్రతిష్ఠా తదప్యేష శ్లోకో భవతి.
సో మీకు కూడా సేమ్ అనుదాత్త దగ్గర కొంచెం డిఫరెంట్, అదంతా స్మూత్ గా ఉంది, అక్కడ వచ్చేసరికి డిఫరెంట్ టోన్ వచ్చేస్తుంది మేబీ సమ్ టైమ్స్. అదర్వైజ్ ఎక్కడైనా అనుదాత్త దగ్గర లెక్సే బిగినింగ్ ఆఫ్ అనుదాత్త సేమ్ శాంతి ఆకాశాత్ అంత కాకపోయినా కొంచెం ఉంది. ఆకాశాత్
ఆకాశాద్వాయుః.
Before should read, right? Come, let's read some. Reading and then go to the next one. We have seen up to 146, right? So jnanam is what? It is, you can take it as that is satta is so nama rupa rahita. Without that nama rupa, the pure existence is sat, right? And then chit plus nama rupa, Without that nama rupa, pure consciousness is what we said is jnanam. So we said bhava vyutpatti, not a kartru or karanam. Or instrumental, but then the knowing process, we said kriya. But then the knowing process also, it's called vritti jnanam, and then by lakshana, by implication, it is vajnanam, swarupa jnanam, right? Yeah. So vritti plus chaitanyam is jnanam, right? Vritti means thought. Thought is jadam. Jadam and inert. Unless chaitanyam blesses it, thing happens. So that a chaitanyam portion here we're taking as in this definition is swarupa jnana. Right? So lakshanaya only that chaitanyam portion. Okay. So this all this is basically saying introducing Brahman as the karanam. Basically it will come. So what karanam? Upadana karanam. Right? We know, right? Upadana karanam, material cause. So, but then material cause doesn't mean it is inert, right? It is Chaitanya Rupa, a non-changing Upadana Karanam, they call it. Upadana Karanam means material. Milk is the Karanam for curds, but then milk changes, right? In total, Parinama. Milk totally changes and becomes curds. Milke ledu. Parinama. So, kondaru, Visishtadvaita, the Dvaitins, they take Brahman as Parinami Upadana, not Parinami. It's only, but here in Advaita, Vivarta, as though, doesn't change. Vivarta Upadana. No changing. So there is no, and then it is not Jadam, and then no Savikaram. So Chaitanya Rupa Vivarta Upadana Karanam is Jnanam. And of course Satta. Yeah. Continue. Let's see. Anantam. Anantam is translated as infinity, limitlessness. Since by the word Satyam, Brahman was indicated as the real, the substratum from which the entire world of the finite had, as it were, emerged. That's why you use some words. You have to be very careful. As it were, Iva, entire world of, so this world is as it were. It is not really. So whenever certain words are used, you have to be very careful. Understand its meaning, implication. As it were, and oh, as it were, there's a lot of meaning is there. Right? As it were emerged. It has become the cause of the phenomenal world. The cause from which effects arise, as pots or ornaments from the mud or gold, is generally inert and inorganic, and as such a doubt may arise that the Supreme is an inert and an unintelligent principle. That's what it is, right? Upadana Karanam ante, oh, it is Upadana Karanam. It is inert, material cause, Jadam anukunta. No, it is not like that. Is right? The doubt may arise that the Supreme is an inert and an unintelligent principle like mud or gold. Because pot ki upadana karanam is mud. Yeah. Mud. Mrit. Adi inert kada. Some examples we take like that, right? Or for the your ornaments, gold is the upadana. Right? To remove such a hasty conclusion, it is insisted that Satyam, though the cause of the world is intelligence itself. So, nimitta and upadana. They call it abhinna nimitta upadana. There's no, it is combined. Abhinna nimitta upadana. The word used. Like the spider. Spider example, you know, right? It creates from own saliva the web. So, ఎక్కడి నుంచో తెచ్చు so ఇదంతా Brahman is a Brahman only. There is no separate material to create this. In that sense, abhinna nimitta upadana. So in nimitta and upadana. But here when we are studying this part, it is usually the upadana karanam is implied. Continue. This consciousness.
Before you go, so should we say Brahman has intelligence or Brahman is intelligence?
Is intelligence. That's why is intelligence itself. That's why Satyam Jnanam, even though the Swarupa Lakshanam we call it. Swarupa.
So it is the material, at the same time it is the intelligence.
Yes. Good. Continue. In the word, continue.
This consciousness, that is the substratum of the created world, may itself end one day, is yet another doubt that can possibly come to the mind of the uninitiated. To refute this idea and to show that pure awareness, which is Satyam, is itself not the effect of any other cause, and as such is infinite in nature, we have the term Anantam used here. This term explains that though truth is the cause of the pluralistic, mutable world, in itself, it is the uncaused cause, unborn and eternal, that truth reveals itself as finite and conscious. This is the core of
infinite and
yeah, that is
infinite and
yeah, I said as infinite and conscious. This is the core of man's own personality. Without this consciousness or awareness, however strong he may be physically, however noble in mind, however powerful in intellect, the individual will be considered dead by the world. Life means expression of awareful experiences. When an individual ceases to live his experiences, to live awareful of his outer and inner worlds, that mass of matter having the shape of a creature is considered as dead, and the carcass is claimed by nature for reconversion into the 5 elements from which it has emerged. Thus, in this irrefutable definition made up by the inimitable usage of the pregnant suggestions contained in these 3 terms, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, the immortal text of the Hindus, the Vedas, indicate the absolute reality, which is at once immanent and transcendent. To seek this truth within and to rediscover it is the divine unfoldment of the mortal to his own immortal stature, of the infinite to the dignity of the infinite, of the bound to the joys of freedom.
So Anantam, very short explanation, but then later I think we'll get more. What does Anantam mean? Yeah, infinity means it expresses what? I mean, limitlessness, right? Anything that we see has a certain limitation. What limitation? 3. Basically, it is removing 3 types of limitations that we usually understand, right? Desha, vastu. Desha, kala, vastu. Right? Parichinnam they call. So aparichinnatvam. So desha means I am here. I am not there. I am here, but not in Italy. So that's why I have to go to Italy. So like maybe France or India. So the Brahman, the real nature is Desha Parichinna. It's not Desha Parichinna. It is everywhere. And Kala. Oh, I am here this now. Before I was not there. Later I won't be there. No, it is not like that. So that Kala Parichinnattvam kuda, Anantatvam indicates these three. So Desha, Kala, then Vastu. Vastu means, you know, right? It doesn't have Vastu Parichinnatvam. What is in the word? What is it? In the word will
What is it? Vastu Parichinna.
Limitation.
Limitation of
Causality, they call it.
It is not limited only to this body. Like it is spread in all the sentient and insentient.
That is, yes, of course. This way, that is Desha, yes.
Desa, Kala.
Vastu Paricheda Rahitatvam. Paricheda means limitation. So Vastu means, like let's say there's one Vastu, this book. This book is only book. But then
Yes,
this pen, the only pen. So both are separate, right? So the penness is limiting the, when I say the penness, right? Manness, right? I am, by saying man, I am limiting myself to not something else. So everything is limiting itself by being its own vastu. At Brahman, there is no ness, no, it invokes all nesses, but in it, there is no, it is not limited by the second. That's why Advaitam we call. No Dvaitam. It is not limited by anything. The second vastu is not limiting it because it is there. There is nothing other than that. That is called vastu. So these Anantam indicates these three limitlessness. Okay, these three limitations are not part of it. You understand that way. Where are we? Continue. If there be thus a truth as defined above.
Do you want me to read or somebody's reading?
Oh, is it up to, you didn't that?
Yeah, Joys of Freedom.
Yeah, up to that before.
If there be thus a truth as defined above, how do we reach that Brahman? The terms Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam have a flavor as though they are expressing some definite qualities, and in the ordinary usage of language, qualities qualify objects. As such, the students who are familiar with this word usage in language are apt to misunderstand from these qualifications that truth is an object separate from the seeker. He who rediscovers this conscious principle within himself is one who is considered as fully awakened to the divine nature in man. This awakening makes him drop once and forever all his identifications with the false matter envelopments of his body, mind, and intellect, and the choking world of plurality created from these three levels. Just as in any dream, we, identifying ourselves with our mental creations, come to suffer dreadful sorrows within ourselves. So too, in the dream of plurality, our false identification with matter ends when we get ourselves awakened to our real divine nature. Practical minded as they all were, the children of the Aryan stock were not very much enamored by the fact that the Vedas had thus declared a highly poetic and extremely consummate goal of life. They wanted to know how this great realization of the divine in them could facilitate the individual in living a more intelligent and healthy life. Theirs was a cry for a life of subtler joys. Their demand was a complete freedom from the sorrows of the finite. However noble a goal the philosophy may point out, to the impatient seekers it is not acceptable unless it guides them to the goal that they wanted. The teacher knew this character and the healthy impatience of the students of that generation, and naturally, therefore, he concludes in the same breath, as it were, that he who realizes this conscious principle in himself enjoys all his desires all at once, along with Brahman.
So earlier, what you read is for the which part? Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. How to know that Brahman? Within ourself. Self-awareness. Right? So within that Buddhi Guha, Guhayam Parame Vyoman. That's what. So he who discovers this conscious principle within, discovering only. It is not something new that we are gaining, right? So within the mind, there is this aham vritti, that I, self-awareness. Within that self-awareness, that awareness itself is the Brahman. Here itself. In that only we have to discover. And then what it say? What else? Soshnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti.
I think awareness is a misnomer here, right? So when you are aware with your own mind, so it is the mind which is observing the mind.
That not mind. Mind is Jadam. It is the Sakshi, they call it. We have heard. That light. Sakshi is like the light. So again, if you say mind is observing the mind, there is one more mind observing that mind. It will continue like that. But that awareness, yes, that itself, that just that awareness, you are that. Okay. Because the mind is what thoughts. It's always, it arrives and departs. But even when the thoughts are arriving and departing, even between that gap, there is consciousness, Chaitanyam, that awareness. It is not arriving or departing. Agama apayana. No. It is there. I am looking at you, in your thought. When I look at there, another thought, Sunitaji thought. When I changed, the mind has moved. This Individual thought has ended. But that consciousness never ends. That awareness, Chaitanyam is always there. That is why it's called Ananta. Gnanam, Ananta. It's not just Vritti is always subject to end. Mind is Vritti. Okay. Enjoys all his desires all at once. Saha. That is simultaneously, you can say. Sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti. So that is the, what is moksha? In a way, the saying. What do we gain by that? Soshnute sarvan kaman saha. Continue.
The consciousness in an individual being is the same as the one life factor in all the living world. It is the illuminator of all the joys enjoyed by everybody at all places and at all times. Therefore, in experiencing the spiritual center of
In ourselves.
in ourselves, we may say that we are at once experiencing thereby all joys experienced by all the living kingdom. In Vedanta, the great scientists of life, the Rishi, had made an exhaustive study of the sources of joy in our ordinary life. The material preoccupation of the world today does not provide the required amount of intellectual poise for such a close study of life for the purposes of investigation into the mechanism of the joy transaction. Ordinarily, no words Even the best of us feel that there is a joy when a desire is fulfilled, but we do not pause to make a scientific analysis nor investigate into the principles underlying and governing the serious joy, sensuous joy. Vedanta does not deny the fact that in our finite world there are joys. The flickering joys tantalizing man with their falsy, flashy charms are not a satisfying fulfillment to those who are really hungry to live fully. In their dissatisfaction, the rishis were goaded and encouraged to make exhaustive inquiries into the structure and composition of sensuous happiness.
Sorry, I was. This was.
Second paragraph.
Vedanta does not deny the fact. Flickering joys, tantalizing man, flashy charms are not satisfying. Exhaustive inquiries in structure and. So, okay, continue.
No doubt, there is a joy when a desire is fulfilled, but it is enjoyable only by the one who entertains the desire. The joy that an object provides it is found directly proportional to the intensity of the desire with which the individual has struggled first. We also find that a given object that gives joy to one can itself dole out a measure of unhappiness to another. The same given cup of coffee, if it gives 80 units of happiness to a South Indian, it gives perhaps an equal amount of unhappiness to the Pathana, who is not familiar with the embittered Madrasi coffee. A young lady, after days of struggling at last fulfills her deep desire for a blue Mysore saree. It provides her with a great satisfaction, while the same saree spells disastrous sorrow and a creeping sense of disgust in the some of her dear friends. If happiness were in the objects, the coffee or the saree should have given the same happiness to all of us. But it seems that the same object provides different units of happiness to different individuals, and the same object graces the same individual with different textures of joy at different places and times. On the whole, we can say that the joy is not in the object, but the object is only an occasion when the required mental condition is gained by the individual, which provides him with the sense of joy that he experiences.
The seers of Vedanta explain this exhaustively. Their convincing arguments have in them a compelling force of persuasion, and we are compelled to accept them. A desire is a torturous mental state wherein we fail to take our mind off a given thought disturbance. It demands an immediate satisfaction by physically possessing, mentally enjoying, or intellectually appreciating some object or objects other than ourselves. Thus, the commotion desire creates is a mental disturbance, and the thicker the desire, the more powerful is the commotion. At the satisfaction of the desire, the commotion ends, and the peace in the mind allows the joy of the soul, as it were, to beam out undisturbed and unmolested. The rishis cry that the self is the repository of all joy, since pure awareness or the reality is itself bliss absolute. The mental thought disturbances, like thick monsoon clouds, veil the beam of joy. The attempt of an individual in procuring and keeping sensuous objects is an unconscious act of the individual to bring about the necessary condition in his mind so that the joyous soul may peep out, shedding its infinite joy. Thus, the Rishi declares that all joys come from the self, and the sensuous joys are all flickering of the self, seen through the intervals of peace in the mind's natural state of thought chaos. With this idea in mind, if we reread the declaration of Upanishad, it cannot be very difficult for us to understand how an individual, on realizing his self, comes to experience all the joys of every living creature all at once.
So, all at once and simultaneously. Saha is also used in that meaning. Simultaneously enjoys all pleasures, is we're saying, right?
Oh, that's a lot.
Right? So, Ashnute Sarvan Kaman. So, in that sense, which sense, when he's saying he is enjoying all Vishayananda simultaneously attains without experiencing them. In what sense? Because that Brahman, he knows, right? So it like he's illumining all the minds, and all the minds are experiencing all the Vishayanandas, sense pleasures of all the jivas. That illumination is called enjoying here. Okay? In that sense, that illumination is called enjoying.
The flicker of the joy is coming because of the peace of mind. So the peace of mind is the one which is facilitating this joy.
Yeah, that's why this prayer, the Rishi declares that all joys come from the self, and the sensuous joys are all flickerings of the self, seen through the intervals of peace in the mind's natural state of thought chaos. So he's identified with that Sakshi, right? In that sense, he enjoys everything all at once, as though, not that he's sensually enjoying all the pleasures and then he'll enjoy, not like that, right?
Yeah, and an important thing is it is declared already that mind's natural state of thought chaos. Mind's natural state is thought chaos.
We already, yeah. Dasita Prajna Lakshanas, right? We read. First verse itself. What is that verse? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sita prajnas tadochyate. Right? Atmaniyeva atmana tushtaha. So earlier Chamakam. Chamakam. And a Gnani chants Chamakam. That may, chame. Wait, remember I told you, I think, that may as the meaning of Chaturthi means to me. So when we chant, give me, give me. But for Agnani, it means that may has Shashti also. Shashti means yours already. Yours. Shashti Vibhakti. So for Agnani, it is Shashti Vibhakti you have to take may. Chanchame, Mayaschame, Priyan. That may, when he says, it's already mine. I don't, already mine. Huh? Don't say give me is for others. Give me. For Gnani, it's already nothing he has to do.
So he's just saying this is not
Already mine. I don't have to struggle. I don't need anything. Why? It's already.
Like praising the Lord.
Like,
this is all you.
That's it. So Brahmana Saha Vipasthiti. So with this idea in mind, if we reread the declaration of Upanishad, cannot be very difficult for us to understand how an individual, on realizing his self, comes to experience all the joys of every living creature all at once. Then read the next one. Pause and then go to
Continue.
read the chant the verse. I mean, chant the.
तस्माद्वा एतस्मादात्मन आकाशः सम्भूतः आकाशाद्वायुः वायोरग्निः अग्निरापः अभ्यः पृथिवी पृथिव्या ओषधयः ओषधीभ्योऽन्नम् अन्नात् पुरुषः. From that which is this Atman is space born, from Akasha air, from air fire, from fire water, from water earth, from earth herbs, from herbs food, and from food demand. Since to the Hindu seekers, theology and philosophy are not in themselves a fulfillment, no true Aryan seeker feels happy or considers himself fulfilled at this. He demands out of philosophy a way of living by which he can actually come in contact with the truth and raise himself to live on par with it. Self-experiencing and the consequent self-protection alone satisfies the Hindu seeker. Looking in and through the words of this passage, no ardent student can miss the picture of the salient beauty of the Himalayan valleys against which the ashrama nestles, swathed in divinity and comfort. In the open porch of this sits the sacred master instructing a gathering of his disciples. In this dramatic layout, the master's declarations are all colored by the appreciation and opinions expressed on the students' faces. When the teacher first declared that the Supreme is realized by those who know Brahman, the gurgling question in the heart of the student was, what is this Brahman? The teacher defined that Brahman is truth, knowledge, and infinity. Even when the disciples are not satisfied, if there be an infinite truth, they had not been told where exactly was this truth to be contacted. If for my illness the doctor says that there is a specific treatment and the medicine is geolalopaty, naturally those who are ailing would first like to know what is it. On being told that it is a medicine to be taken orally twice a day, once after breakfast and again after dinner, the question arises as to where it can be procured. If at this juncture we are told that the original company is no longer preparing this medicine and that it is not available anywhere, then the medicine prescribed is not even worth the paper on which it is written. Hence the doubts of the disciples. The teacher therefore explains further. Continue,
Here we find that the Brahman defined can be realized in the innermost recesses of the seeker's own personality, the realm in which we can rediscover this absolute nature in us, explained here as the supreme sky, which is exactly what was meant by the term the cave of the heart earlier. The pure consciousness described at first objectively and later on indicated subjectively is one and the same. The reality, being one, all-pervading and eternal, cannot be limited in any sense of the term, and therefore to assume that the reality is not at once immanent and transcendent is to misjudge its divine nature. To say that the divine is yonder to be realized as the
Sultan. I think Sultan only. Sultan of the skies.
Sultana of the skies is a terrible
Blasphemy.
We will be attributing a limitation upon its infinite and all-pervading nature. If truth be within us also, then it is certainly realizable there in ourselves. It is to indicate this fact that the consciousness within and without is one unbroken, homogeneous truth that in this section we are told from that which is this Atman.
Because what is it? Tasmat means remote. Etasmat, close by. Tasmadva, that and this, that Brahman and this Atma are not separate. They're saying. Etasmad Atmana, they're saying, right? That is what it's saying. So, from that which is this Atman, from this only came the whole Srishti, we're saying. All is Akasha, from that Akasha Vayu, from Vayu Agni, Agni Apaha, and then from Apaha Prithvi. So the Srishti, the Panchabhuta Utpatti, so right, is being explained. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam is explained through cosmology. Cosmology means the Srishti Prakaranam. So earlier Satyam Jnanam Anantam, that is Swarupa Lakshanam, they call it. Here the world, the Srishti, Jagat Karanam is Brahma. What is that called? Tatastha Lakshanam. Yeah, I think we'll see in Tattva Bodha also. Tatastha. Incidental. There is no Tatparyam in the word. What is there is only Brahman, we are saying. Bottom line is, Brahman is limitless. That Vayuness, just now we said, right, that nesses, right? So Vayuness, Agniness, Jalamness, anyness that comes during Srishti doesn't displace Brahmanness. Brahman is limitless. Brahmatvam is always limitless. Anantam, that's why. So is it called Tatastha Lakshan, this word Srishti. There is no Tatparyam in it. But then, to satisfy our curiosity, some Srishti is there. Different theories, right? In some other Upanishad, it doesn't even start with Akasha and Vayu. Start with Agni itself. That means what? In Chandogya. There's no Tatparyam in this. What is that? Right? Tatparyam is only Brahma Satyam Jagat Nitya. Nitya. Unreal. Okay, then what else?
This idea is brought out fully and clearly in Vedanta through an analogy of the outer space and the room space or pot space. Space being a subtle, all-pervading element, it cannot be limited either by the walls of the room or the material of the pot. And yet, in our gross concept, we generally identify space with the four walls of the room or consider space as conditioned by the material of the pot and declare it as the room space or the pot space. Space being homogeneous is one and the same within and without. The very material of the pot or the walls of the room are themselves standing in the space, and so space is not limited by the material walls. Similarly, the cause of the space necessarily subtler than the space itself. The reality is one without a second, both within the pluralistic world and
without it.
This oneness of the spiritual essence in man with the infinite reality, which is the substratum of the entire phenomenal world, is indicated here when the Shastra says, from that which is this Atma. To every real seeker
So
of
that itself is Mahavakyam. Mahavakyam is always, right? Like Mahavakyam, what does it do? Tattvamasi, etc. Jiva, Ishvara, Aikya Vakyam. Right? There's no difference. That's what itself is a Mahavakyam. That Brahman is this Atman, they are saying. To every real seeker of truth, there is a period in his intellectual quest when he comes to wonder at and feels bewildered by why and how of this universe. Right? This doubt is to be first of all answered thoroughly by the teacher, or else the student will not be able to harness all his mental energies to the true scientific analysis of himself, and through deeper meditation reach the realm of the subjective experience of truth. Therefore, we find that all the teachers have to give some explanation which would suit the mental temperament of the student and give him the necessary satisfaction, at least temporarily. Right? That's what's called Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya. Temporarily, they say, yes, world is there. Adhyaropa, they superimpose. Snake ఉంది ఉన్న స్నేక్ భయపడుతున్నాడు ఉంది పర్వాలేదు మెల్లగా టార్చ్ లైట్ పెడితే లే స్నేక్ ఎక్కడ అపవాద వన్స్ యూ పుట్ ద టార్చ్ అపవాద నెగేషన్ సో ఇది ఉంది ప్రపంచం ఉంది సంసారం ఉంది బాధలు ఉన్నాయి ఉన్నాయి అవును ఆల్ ఫైన్ ఓకే తర్వాత నథింగ్ నెగేషన్ అపవాద అధ్యారోప అపవాద ది కాల్ సో దట్స్ వాట్ గురుదేవ్ సేయింగ్ temporarily accept it fine okay because we are as though steeped in so many no badhalu unnai samsara right so anta mithyane but then it is in this sense that we find in the literature of Upanishads varied explanations on how creation first came into being. One such explanation which can temporarily give a sense of satisfaction to the seeker is given here by the Rishi of the Taittiriya Upanishad. He narrates the story of how the five great elements have, in an unbroken sequence, emerged out of the Supreme. So, first, Akasha, subtlest thing, Akasha, right? Subtlest. Subtler than that is Brahman. Akasha, Vayu. Panchabhuta Srishti is being explained.
Is that Sankhya that it is the space that is being conditioned by the walls of the part? Isn't that Sankhya? Meaning, if it is Advaita, even the pot walls is also space. I mean, it is Brahman.
That's what it's saying. That's what we are saying, right? Yes, that space is as though it looks conditioned when a pot is there. But that space is nothing but that outer space and the pot space, Ghatakasha, Mathakasha, and Mahakasha. Nothing, no different. That's what we're saying. So Dvaitavadins might say they're all different, but Advaita no. First of all, the subtlest of the five elements, Akasha, emerged from truth. Right? What is the... Where is that? Where does it say that? Tasmadva etasmadatmana Akasha sambhutah. Akasha is come, emerged from truth. Truth is your Brahman. From its grosser element, the air came. The grosser fire came from air, and still grosser element, water, manifested itself from fire. The series ended with the grossest manifestation, the element earth. These five elements have been accepted as the fundamentals in the manifested world of matter by almost all the philosophers and scientists of the world, like Panchabhutas, according to whom the entire pluralistic phenomenon is an endless variety of combinations and manipulations of these five great elements. These five elements are arranged in order of their relative subtlety, measured in terms of their qualities. So why is Akasha considered the subtlest? Because it has only Shabda Gunam, one quality. That's why it's called subtlest. Brahman, how many qualities? No, Nirgunam, no quality, because the subtlest. So first one Akasha came, one Gunam, right? Shabda Gunam. And then we know sound cannot be created when there is no space, right? That's why Shabda Gunam. Air has a quality of sound and also its own special quality, touch, sparsha. Shabda, it borrows Shabda from Akasha, which is the Karanam. But ultimate Karanam is Brahman. But here in that series. So, right? Vayu borrows.
This Akasha, where there is no Akasha, there is no sound. There is no place where there is no Akasha.
Yes. But then before Srishti, we are saying Akasha itself is not there in this. So it has to be located somewhere. But then scientists saying it is expanding, it is huge. Space. So there is, before Big Bang, there is no Akasha, something like that. So it is just Satyam Jnanam Anantam. From that emerged this, it's saying. So that means this is a product, Karyam, that is Karanam. These, where are we? These one. Akash, air.
Air has the quality of sound.
Of the sound and also its own special quality, touch, that is Sparsha. Therefore, air is considered grosser than Akasha. The next in the series, Agni, has qualities of space and air. It borrows those two from earlier ones and it's its own quality, Rupa. Agni has Rupa, form. Water, besides the qualities of all the previous ones, namely sound, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, it has Rasa. Water has Rasa. We can't say tasteless. Water is not tasteless, it has taste. The tastelessness is also because of the taste. Right? Quality of taste. And earth, the grossest of the lot, has all the four qualities and also its own quality of smell. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Yes. Thus we find that the great elements, each representing one or the other of the sense objects cognizable by man through his sense organs, are described in the poetic language of the scriptures as the deities, devatas, right? Panchamahabhut, of the five sense organs. Akasha in the ears, air in the skin, fire in the eyes, water in the tongue, earth in the nose. Continue with you.
These concepts in Vedanta are explained in such detail here only to give an idea of how clearly and precisely the ancient students must have understood their teacher's words at the time of the delivery of the text, when the students were already familiar with this idea that the elements represent the sense organs. Therefore, though macrocosmically this portion reads as the story of the elements and their manifestation from the Supreme, microcosmically it is at once expresses how in the individual the five great sense organs, the ears, the skin, the eyes, the tongue, and the nose, rose as though a separate creation of the Atman.
Continue.
From earth, the food out of the gross earth, arose the entire world of vegetation. The herbs, plants, and trees are the food materials which can maintain the physical health and the stamina of an individual. The food that is taken in large quantities by the father crystallizes into its essence as the seeds in him, and the seed fertilizes and womb in the womb of the mother, grows into its full maturity to be born as an individual called Purusha.
So up to Savayesha Purushonnarasamayaha, up to that line, the one before, after that, right? Up to that is the Srishti Prakaranam ends there. And that becomes the starting point for the Panchakosha Viveka, the koshas. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. That becomes the starting point.
How do you scientifically explain that, from the Agni comes water?
There is scientific explanation, but Shastra is saying that is enough for us. The scientific explanation also is there. So, Akashad Vayu, Vayu Agni, Agni Apa, Abhyah Prithvi, Adbyah means that up. What and then the earth. The earth means here all the solid matter. Prithvi. So all solid matter. From Prithvi, Oshadis, plants. Oshadi means not herbal plant, plant. The vegetation, the plants. Oshadi bhyo annam. From the Oshadi came annam, food. And from Anna came Purusha. Annat Purusha. Of course, modification. Not Anand. Annat Purusha means not from solid food. We eat from the men's body, that Shukra, the woman's body, the Shonita, sperm, and the Rasamaya. That's why it's called modification. Anna Rasamaya. So that is the Srishti. Prakaranam. So Mayat, Anna Rasamayaha is there, right? That Mayat Pratyaya means Vikararthe. Vikararthe Mayat, they call it. Means modification. Annamaya. Annamaya means modification of Anna. Chinmaya means not modification of Chinmaya. Here it is full of. The Prachuryarthe Mayat. Chinmaya in the meaning of Chinmaya, it's called Prachuryarthe, means full of, saturated with. Prachurya. Here Annamaya means modification of Annam. Annamaya Sharira, this gross body. Okay. Savayesha. Continue on the word. Savayesha.
Sava esha purushonnarasamayah.
Sava.
Sava esha purushonnarasamayah. Tasyedameva shiraha. Ayam dakshinah pakshah. Ayamuttarah pakshah. Ayamatma idam pucham pratishtha. Tadapyesha sloko. Tadapyesha sloko bhavati.
Tadapyesha shloko.
Tadapyesha sloko bhavati.
So there's one more page. So up to 8:15 you do. Then after that we'll do the next chant. So that you can do some chanting also. Continue.
He indeed is the man consisting of the essence of food. This is his head. This is his right wing. This is his left wing. This is his trunk. This is the hind part forming his support and foundation. About this also is the following Vaidika words. After describing the outer world and how it was caused, the teacher is slowly gliding his discourse to the subjective theme of self-analysis. The goal of spiritual quest is the supreme, and the subjective search is the technique adopted in Vedanta. This physical body, born of food, is described here as the essence of food, Annarasamayaha. When man is thus explained as made up of food, the students might misunderstand the theme indicated by the term to mean man with his physical, mental, and intellectual personalities. The Rishi here is definitely guiding the student's attention to the purely physical structure of himself. He at present is talking merely of the physical sheath in man. To indicate exhaustively a physical sheath in all its entirety, the teacher is pointing out the 5 main parts of the body as the head, the right and the left sides, the trunk, and the lower limbs.
That is Tasyedameva Shiraha. So here the physical body is pointing. Ayam Dakshinah Pakshaha is pointing out this is the right side of the Annamaya Kosha. Initially it is Atma, as though this is me, Atma only. Initially start with Atma. Then you make it Kosha when you go to the next Kosha. Pranamaya. Not chapter, within the Pancha Koshas. So here is pointing. Ayam Dakshina Paksha. This is Uttaravakshaha. This center part is Atma, Ayam Atma, Idam Pucham. The lower part is there as though like a tail. Pratishtha, it is supporting me. He is pointing to the disciples. Right? Continue.
Sureshwaracharya, while commenting upon this portion, describes it as a metaphor drawn from the hawk-like arrangement of the sacred fire in some special types of yajnas. Here the Rishi is dramatically pointing out to his own head, limbs and trunk, and is describing the parts constituting the Annamaya Kosha, the food sheath. The description indicates that what the Rishi meant by the food sheath is the physiological structure of man constituted of the head, the trunk, and the limbs. Strictly following the tradition of the Vaidika faith, the teacher, after making his bold assertion, immediately hastens to add that what he said was not a mere individualistic philosophy or a mere intellectual hypothesis, but it is fully supported by the words of the Vedas. The Vaidika stanza is quoted in the next section.
So the each Anuvaka ends like that. Tadapyesha shloko bhavati. Anuvaka ends that way. And then next is the quotation. The next Anuvaka begins with the quotation of the Rig mantra, Rig Veda. So it's a gradually lifting from each kosha. First starts with Annamaya. It describes what is Annamaya, and then going to subtler levels. Next to lifting us, like Arundhati Darshananya. We said, right? What is it? Newlywed.
Meet up
అరుంధతి అక్కడెక్కడో ఫస్ట్ చంద్రుని చూపెట్టావు అక్కడ బ్రాంచ్ somewhere. So he's starting straight from the Annamaya, describing what it is, then going interior, not out from here. No, you don't go outside. He's saying inside you go, and then discover that subtlest Brahman. So gradual lifting. Other is called Shaka Chandranyaya or Arundhati Darshananyaya. Okay, what is the Vedika stanza quote in the next section? We'll see, so that you can practice.
What is this Tadapyesha Shloko?
So it is stating Tad api Shloko bhavati. Shloka means the Rig mantra. Next mantra is talking about. In that context is the Rig mantra that is quoted. It is saying. So Taittiriya Upanishad is quoting Rig mantra. Okay. Annadvai prajah prajayante.
Annadvai prajayante. Annadvai prajayante.
Yahascha prithivigashritah. Yahkascha prithivigashritah.
Yahkascha prithivigashritah.
Prithivigashritah. Yahkascha prithivigashritah.
Yahkascha prithivigashritah. Yahkascha prithivigashritah.
Why are you struggling there? It is very smooth. Prithivigashritah. Prithivigashritah. Prithivigashri.
Prithivigashri.
Prithivigashritah.
Prithivigashritah. Prithivigashritah.
Yahkascha prithivigashritah.
Yahkascha prithivigashritah. Yahkascha prithivigashritah.
Atho annenaiva jivanti.
Ato annenaiva jivanti.
Ato annenaiva jivanti.
अथो अन्नेनैव जीवन्ति
Ato annenaiva jivanti. Ato
अन्नेनैव जीवन्ति अथैनधपि यन्त्यन्ततः अपि यन्त्यन्ततः 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 अथैनधपि अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्ततः अन्नगं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठम्
Annagam hi bhutanam jesham. Annagam hi bhutanam jesham.
तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते
Tasmat sarvaushadmuchyate. Tasmat sarvaushadmuchyate.
तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते
Tasmat
मुच्यते
Tasmat sarvaushadmuchyate.
सर्वं वै तेन्नमाप्नुवन्ति
Sarvam vaitenamapnuvanti. Sarvam vaitenamapnuvanti.
येन्नं ब्रह्मोपासते
Yenam brahmopasate. Yenam brahmopasate.
अन्नगं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठम्
Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtam. Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtam.
तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते
Tasmat sarvaushadmuchyate. Tasmat sarvaushadmuchyate.
सर्वौषधमु mu is Swarita, right? Dha is Mahaprana. सर्वौषधमुच्यते
Sarvaushadmuchyate. Sarvaushadmuchyate.
अन्नात् भूतानि जायन्ते
Annam bhutani jayante. Annam bhutani jayante.
जातान्यन्नेन वर्धन्ते
Jatam nyannena vardhante. Jatam nyannena vardhante.
अद्यतेत्ति च भूतानि
Adyatetti cha bhutani. Adyatetti cha bhutani.
तस्मादन्नन्तदुच्यत इति
Tasmadannantaduchyata iti. Tasmadannantaduchyata iti.
तस्माद्वा तस्माद्वा एतस्मादन्नरसमयात्
Tasmadva
तस्माद्वा एतस्मादन्नरसमयात्
Tasmadva etasmadannarasamaya.
रसमया रसमयात् फ्रॉम दैट पंचमी रसमयात् अन्न रसमय तस्माद्वा एतस्मादन्न रसमयात्
तस्माद्वा एतस्मादन्नरसमयात् तस्माद्वा एतस्मादन्नरसमयात्
अन्योन्तर आत्मा प्राणमयः
अन्योत्तर अन्योत्तर
तेनैष पूर्णः
तेनैष पूर्णः तेनैष पूर्णः
स वा एष पुरुषविद एव
स वा एष पुरुषविद एव स वा एष पुरुषविद एव
तस्य पुरुषविधताम्
तस्य पुरुषविधताम् तस्य पुरुषविधताम्
अन्वयं पुरुषविदः
अन्वयं पुरुषविदः अन्वयं पुरुषविदः
तस्य प्राण एव शिरः
तस्य प्राण एव शिरः तस्य प्राण एव शिरः
व्यानो दक्षिणः पक्षः
व्यानो दक्षिणः पक्षः व्यानो दक्षिणः पक्षः
अपान उत्तरः पक्षः
पक्षः अपान उत्तरः पक्षः
आकाशात्मा पृथिवी पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा
पृथिवी पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा पृथिवी पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा
तदप्येष श्लोको भवति
तदप्येष श्लोको भवति तदप्येष श्लोको भवति
So each kosha is plain. Here, Prithvi Pucham Pratishtha. Earlier, what Pratishtha? Idam Pucham, because he was showing physically. Idam Pucham, he was showing, Guru was showing. When it comes to Pranamaya, Prithvi Pucham Pratishtha is saying. So again, Annad, once, Annad Vai Prajah Prajayante.
अन्नाद्वै प्रजा प्रजायन्ते
याकाश्च पृथिवीगश्रिताः
याः काश्च पृथिवीगश्रिताः
अथो अन्नेनैव जीवन्ति
अथो अन्नेनैव जीवन्ति
अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्ततः
अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्तः
again
अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्तः
again अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्ततः अन्नगं ततः यन्त्यन्ततः यन्त्यन्ततः that the anta is anudatta, right? अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्ततः
अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्ततः
స్వరం మీద పెడుతున్నారు సంబడి అతైన అనుదాత్త అతైన దపియంత్యంతతః yes yes again no anudatta Inadapiyantyantataha anna Again. Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtham.
Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtam.
Tasmat sarvaushadhamuchyate.
Tasmat sarvaushadhamuchyate.
Sarvam vaitenamapnuvanti.
Sarvam vaitenamapnuvanti.
Yenam brahmopasate.
Yenam brahmopasate.
Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtam.
Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtam.
Tasmat sarvaushadhamuchyate.
Tasmat sarvaushadhamuchyate.
Annād bhūtāni jājante.
Annāt bhūtāni jayante.
Jātānyannena vardhante.
Jātānyannena vardhante.
Adyatetti cha bhūtāni.
Adyatetti ca bhūtāni.
Tasmādannantaduchyata iti.
Tasmādannantaduchyata iti.
Tasmādvā etasmādannarasamayāt.
Tasmādvā etasmādannarasamaya.
Anyontara ātmā āprāṇamayah. Tenaisha pūrnaha.
Tenaisha pūrnaha.
Savā esha purusha vida eva.
Savā esha purusha vida eva.
Tasya purusha vidhatāṃ.
Tasya purusha vidhatāṃ.
Anvayam purusha vidaha.
Anvayam purusha vidaha.
Tasya prāna eva shiraha.
Tasya prana eva shiraha.
Vyāno dakshinah pakshaha.
Vyāno dakshina pakshaha.
Apāna uttarah pakshaha.
Apāntara pakshaha.
Akāsha ātmā.
Akāsha ātma.
Prithivī puccham pratishtha.
Prithivī puccham pratishtha.
Tadapyesha shloko bhavati.
Tadapyesha shloko bhavati.
Tadapyesha shloko bhavati. For the next Anuvaka is the quotation from the Rig mantra again. That's how it ends, right? Anuvaka. And then quotes the Rig mantra. Up to iti again is the mantra, and then the Upanishad takes over and says tasyesha eva sharira atma, like that. Same thing here. Up to the mantra is from annadvai prajah prajayante and up to iti. Right? Tasmadannantaduchyata iti. And then tasmadva etasmadannarasamaya. Good. So, Gita will do next week. We don't have time, right? You want to do? I'm fine. I'm fine. You want to do 2 shlokas? No? Fine. Or 1 shloka. Or repeat whatever you. Fourth chapter, Jnana Yoga. ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ चतुर्थोऽध्यायः। चतुर्थोऽध्याय से चैंट।
चतुर्थोऽध्यायः
ज्ञानयोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगम् प्रोक्तवानहमव्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह मनुरिक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत् एवं परम्परा प्राप्तम् इमं राजर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तप। One will do. स एवायं मया तेद्य
स एवायं मया तेद्य स एवायं मया तेद्य
योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः
योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः
भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति
भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति
रहस्यं ह्येतदुत्तमम्
रहस्यं ह्येतदुत्तमम्
यं ह्येतदुत्तमम्। अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन उवाच अर्जुन उवाच
अपरं भवतो जन्म
अपरं भवतो जन्म अपरं भवतो जन्म
परं जन्म विवस्वतः
परं जन्म विवस्वतः परं जन्म विवस्वतः
कथमेतद्विजानीयाम्
कथमेतद्विजानीयाम् कथमेतद्विजानीयाम्
कथ कथमेतद्विजानीयाम्
कथमेतद्विजानीयाम् कथमेतद्विजानीयाम्
त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति
त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति
So Puratana, I think in the book Sanatana is there, the Telugu book, Shinmayaranyam book. So in the
Which one?
third verse.
Puratana.
Puratana is there?
This is not in my book.
Oh, you're not using that.
No.
Okay, fine.
This is also Puratana.
The Puratana is.
Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om Tat Sat.